Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to another BDPA Tech and Career Talk. I am your Tech and Career Talk leader, Devin Jenkins. I am an IT pricing leader for US and Canada at GE Healthcare, as well as the founder and CEO of Share the Vibes LLC, where we connect people through music and technology. So excited to have you with us today. I wanted to start off by giving you a little bit of background about BDPA if you're unfamiliar, as well as a little bit of background about the Tech and Career Talks. So BDPA is Black Data Processing Associates. The organization was founded in 1975. We have a few purposes, but one is continuing to build a talent pipeline within the technology industry of Black youth. So we have a focus on middle and high school students, teaching them computer programming skills and other skills, professional development, and those skills that help them be ready for careers in the IT industry. And we're also an organization that provides a forum for professional development, networking, and continued career advancement for professionals of color in the IT field. And our mantra is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. So we're excited to have you with us today. Our Tech and Career Talks take place on the second and fourth Friday of each month. And we have a range of speakers and a range of topics. Some topics are a little more technical, talking about cloud technology or brain machine interaction. I think we've had some talks that deep dived into a certain language. And then we also have softer conversations around emotional intelligence or entrepreneurship, kind of navigating your career journey. So we're excited to have you with us today from all over the country. And we're looking forward to an excellent conversation today. So we have a special guest who has packed the house out. We were joking about this last week. So excited to have Miss Kanika Tolver with us today. Kanika, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing? How you doing, Devin?
Doing all right. Doing all right. It's Friday. It's not too cold out here in Charlotte, so I'm excited. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Happy that it's Friday.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, so we'll jump right into the conversation. I intentionally don't really do a formal intro for speakers on these. I like people to tell their own story in their own way. So let's just kick things off with it's a simple question for me, may not be a simple answer for you, but who is Kanika Toll?
So Kanika Tolver I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. So I was born in D.C., raised in Prince George's County. We call it Pretty Girl County, PG County. I went to public high school here. I see people in the chat saying they're from the DMV. So what's up to everybody from the DMV? What's up to everybody that's joining? We got like over 100 people here. So I am a wife. I'm a sneaker enthusiast. I love to collect sneakers. Jordan, I got a Jordan hat on today. But I am just a cool geek. That's kind of how I would frame myself. I'm a cool geek, you know what I mean? Like I love technology. I love writing books. I have an amazing book called Career Rehab. I'm the best-selling author of this amazing book, and we'll get into that later in the conversation. But overall, I'm just, so grateful to serve, our community every day. And I've been in GovTech for over 18 years. So I spent a lot of my time working as a federal government employee and as a government contractor or consultant. And I've just, absorbed a lot of wealth of knowledge that I love to share with the online community and especially, with the Black community. So happy to be here today.
Thank you. And I too have been labeled a geek or a nerd, throughout my life. So I can definitely relate to some of that. I'm not the sneaker enthusiast I would like to be just yet. We're gonna get there. So glad to have you with us. So let's jump into it. So you kind of started a little bit, told us you've been in GovTech for so many years. Tell us a little bit more about your career journey, your professional path, if you will, from getting you to where you started up until this point.
Yeah, so I mean, I took the traditional path and I got a college degree from Bowie State University. So I went to a HBCU college here in the DMV. So I focused on computer technology with a specialization in internet technology because I was just so fascinated with the internet, like building websites, building websites using Dreamweaver, front page, and then as we got into some of the responsive web stuff, I just got really excited about web technology. my career started in the federal government when I was in college because I actually was an office clerk. So I would go to school a couple days a week, and then a couple days a week I would spend my time working as an office clerk, at the Department of HUD. So I started my initial first government job was at HUD, at the Department of Housing Urban Development. And then as I got out of college, I decided to, go and work at Verizon corporate office, not wireless, not the wireless store, but at the corporate office. And I started to, get a lot of experience in private sector. And then I went back to work for the federal government. And I pretty much started as a SaaS developer at the Department of Labor, and I started as a .NET developer there. And then I just constantly just kept getting promoted, honestly. And I started to work at a lot of different other agencies. And I found my love for project management at the Department of Transportation. And then I just decided to leave one day and go to private sector. And I left the federal government for about 5 or 6 years. And I went to go work for a lot of other organizations like Deloitte and other federal government contracting companies. And I just kind of just found my way just navigating, as I would say, dating jobs. You know what I mean? I just dated different jobs until I found like my passion, and my passion is really software development, project management, and that's kind of what I do today.
I like that concept right there. We might have to steal that one, job dating.
With you can't steal it because it's in the book. but you
We
know we
give
can
you credit.
share it.
We give you your credit. So no, that's quite the journey though. Federal government, private sector, contracting, entrepreneurship. And I want to spend a little bit of time on that relationship between navigating, the corporate space and the entrepreneurial space. Now that's something I'm doing, and I'm sure many people on the call can relate to. So let's talk about a little bit about how your software development skills and your project management skills and all that. How you able to take all that and navigate the corporate world while building and launching your own business and being an entrepreneur as well.
Oh yeah, man. I've been side hustling, as they would say, for a long time, right? But I don't view the side hustle or my business like a side hustle. I view it as the main hustle. So I always try to, incorporate different things that I learned from the job, with the company. So I've been career coaching probably since about 2012. So I started career coaching, doing resumes, and people would like ask me all these career related questions. And then I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'm a career coach, because I was just hustling resumes, really honestly, to get sneakers. And people would get jobs, and then they would start asking me the hard questions. And I was like, oh, okay, so maybe I am coaching them through a salary negotiation. Maybe I am coaching them through toxic work environments. So then I kind of just created my own company, Career Rehab, and I kind of use that as an opportunity to say that I've helped all these other people rehab their careers, but then I've also kind of rehabbed my career too. So everything that I learned about myself, I applied it to my clients because I'm learning with them and I'm a professional too. So it really started with me just career coaching probably like well over a decade ago. And I would go to Facebook groups, and I would go to like the unemployment groups, and I would like market my flyers and market my services out there. And then I decided in 2014 that I was going to leave the government, and I was going to check myself into career rehab, and I was going to rehabilitate my career by venturing out there and trying something new. So I was like, I need a personal brand. I mean, if I'm going to be successful, I need a personal brand. So then that's when I started to think about like, maybe I should write a book, maybe I should share my journey, but also share my client's journey in this book. And then that's when, I got a book deal a couple of years later with the book called Career Rehab after my company name. So I mean, hustling is like, the same hustle that we put into getting a degree or getting a certification is the same hustle that we put into business. We have to learn business. We have to learn branding and marketing. So I try to take the things that I learned at the job to apply to the things that I put into my business. So that's just kind of went into like speaking engagements, book deals, brand deals, and other online collaborations.
No, I love that. You say no, it's my side hustle, but I treat it like the main hustle. So
Yeah, because
everything
if you
really,
if you treat the business like like a side hustle, it'll never mature. It'll be treated like a hobby, and people will see it and treat it as a hobby. So I wanted to make sure that I got trademarks. I have a LLC. I have a tax ID. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't want it to be like, oh man, she's just the girl that do resumes. You know?
Mhm. That's real because it's easy to get labeled that, get typecast.
Yep.
And I love what you said that you checked yourself into career rehab and really put that focus on building the brand and really honing in on who it is that you wanted to be and be perceived as so you could do the things you wanted to do. And I think that's a great segue into let's get into your company and the book. Career Rehab. The title serves two purposes. We got Career Rehab LLC, then we got Career Rehab, the literary work. So what is career rehab? What's the mission? What's the ultimate goal? What's this all about?
So career rehab is really about gutting out the things that's not happening well with your career and putting in the things that's going to make your career successful. You know, we watch a lot of TV shows where people gut out houses and then they resell them and put them on the market. What if we rehabbed our own career, right? And we yes, the book is on Amazon. You can buy the book on Amazon. I see people in the chat saying the book on Amazon. I forgot to send you the link to the book, but if you just put in career rehab in my name, the book will definitely come up. So career rehab is really about gutting out the things that's not happening well for your career and kind of like giving your career a facelift, some renovations, right? So like if we think about a house has different rooms. Sometimes it needs more furniture, more paint. It needs some upgrades. And then you put that house back on the market and then it sells. What if we did the same thing for our career? And the only way that we can do that is by really focusing on personal branding, leveling up our skill sets, expanding our professional network. So this book really has been a book that I kind of was marketing during the COVID time because the book came out in 2020 when everything got shut down. But the book really speaks to about how do you develop a personal brand and rethink about yourself like a product instead of looking at yourself just as like, oh, I'm just this person that has one or two skill sets. How about you advance yourself and you have multiple skill sets? How about you network like a hustler? You know, expand your professional network. Network, you know, for your future and not your past. Like if you're doing a career transition, you got to create a whole new network. You can't network with the old folks that's in your old industry. You got to network with people that's going in the same direction that you're trying to go. And it's just been really a book that I feel like a lot of people can relate to because we as Black professionals, we talk a different language. So the book has like, dating jobs and, being a brand and not an employee. And it's really a mindset shift book, right? Because we grew up during a time where our parents stayed at the same job for like 20, 30 years, right? But that's an employee mindset, right? But what about if we had a branding mindset where we gonna say, I'm gonna go to different jobs, learn new skill sets. Every career relationship that I enter in, I'm gonna take something out of that and I'm gonna build a brand and I'm going to go on to the next job and get more money.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. No, that's powerful. Um, Thinking of ourselves as a brand versus an employee. A lot of people say, you're the CEO of you incorporated. And when you start to think like that, how do you move differently? So I thank you for sharing that. And I want to transition a little bit now into kind of the key topic of the day, which is applying for top IT jobs in the federal government. But I think it was important to get the context around who you are, what you've done, and what you do as a living, helping people kind of in this lane as they're rehabbing their careers and applying for these types of roles. So let's get into the federal government top IT job piece of this, and maybe start with some context around what GovTech is. I don't think that's like a super popular term, or maybe I just on the rock, but I don't hear it thrown around, especially you hear like med tech and fintech.
I mean, there's other, career influencers that's definitely leveraging and bringing and shedding light to GovTech. I think GovTech, it's a new word for a lot of people that are not, been exposed to what the federal government does. So GovTech is really about, it's two sides of GovTech. So I'm going to talk about first the federal government side. The federal government side is when you actually work directly for a federal government agency or department, and you work as an IT specialist or computer scientist. That's what they call their technology professionals. And then they have different subcategories of where you can fall under. You can fall under being network administration, you can be under cybersecurity, you can be under project management, you can be someone that does system analysis. So there's a lot of different subcategories that falls under that. So I've worked on both sides. I've worked on the federal government side a lot longer. And that is just really about you going to usajobs.gov and you are applying to job postings that are at various different agencies. So I think we talked about this earlier this week, that a lot of people don't know that literally everything that you do in this world is managed around government technology. When you think about getting on the plane and you have to check your bag in with TSA, that's a federal government agency. Department of Agriculture regulates everything we do when it comes to food and crops. When you take prescription, a federal government agency by FDA oversees what type of medication is being approved. So everything that you do, your banking system is insured by FDIC, right? Your money in your bank. So everything that we do is managed by computerized systems and databases and policies and regulations that the government actually oversees, because without any type of policy and regulations, there's no way to really have true governance, right? There's no true possible way to keep things secure because our data is there. So we work with classified data and we work with unclassified data, and that data is data that needs to be protected and secured and sacred. And then there's data where it's not so secret, it's not so sacred. So then you have the federal government contracting side, and this is the part that some people don't understand. You can have big Fortune 500 companies that actually bid on government contracts. Say if Microsoft, or say if HP or Dell, they win a contract to work with the federal government. They basically win that contract, then they have to hire federal government contractors to support that agency to do X, Y, and Z. So say you have HP who's going to be providing laptops, printers, and computers to a government department. HP now has to find other people to oversee the maintenance of the laptops, the computers, the printers, to make sure that they actually get distributed correctly to the employees that work at that agency. So they will hire federal government contractors. You'll be hired through HP, but HP will actually be, you will actually be assigned a federal government agency as your customer. So you may say, okay, HP is going to bring you to the Department of Navy. Department of Navy will be your customer or your client, and you as a federal government contractor now will report there, work on behalf of HP to make sure that the laptops and the printers are doing what they need to do correctly for that particular department or agency. So that's kind of like both sides. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and you unpacked a lot there. I think you gave us what GovTech is. You connected it to our real world. So I think a lot of times we don't always connect the dots between government and all that goes on, in these different places, not just DC, but government locations all around in our everyday lives. We talk on phones. You got like federal communication that goes
FCC.
on there. Yep, FCC with that. If you're going to get money out the bank, FDIC, over that, insuring your money. Like you said, FDA, food, drugs, like everything is connected. And I think one of the ways we start to build that equity we talk about with diversity, equity, and inclusion is being a part of those roles, being in those rooms, learning how the technology works on the other side of it. That kind of keeps things going. So I thank you for doing that. You even got into what some of those top IT jobs are. So I wanted to get into maybe the application process a little bit. As we talk about applying for federal government jobs versus your typical, maybe your standard civilian job is what I'll call them. Are there a different set of requirements or things you need to do I'm going to that. Like you mentioned, USA Jobs already. Like I didn't have to
Yeah.
do that when I applied for my role at GE. So what are some of the things that you have to do when you're applying for a federal government job?
Yeah. So the first step you need to do is you need to create an account on usajobs.gov. And you can create a free account. It's, and you can upload your resume and you can create your profile. So it's no different than Indeed or LinkedIn. They have their own, resume builder wizard that walks you through to create your profile, add all of your current employment details, previous employment details, education, and they're going to ask you other questions, right, about your contact information and things like that, so they can reach out to you if you get an interview. So it's no different than any other job board website, but it's just the federal government's job board website. Once you put your resume up there, then you need to actually start looking for jobs. So if you're looking for IT jobs, you want to focus in on looking for jobs that are IT specialist jobs that have a code associated to it, and it's 2210. So when you put in IT specialist 2210 and you put in the city or state, or you put in remote, if you want to look for remote opportunities, then from there, all of the jobs will come up. And you pretty much can categorize it by salary range, right? And then from there, it's just like any other job. You are going to read the requirements and you're going to start the application process. And, there are a lot of great benefits for people who actually have worked in the armed forces. They actually can apply. People who have disabilities through Schedule A, they can apply. And military spouses can apply as well. And the regular public. I don't want to forget about those folks, right? The regular folks that don't fall into those other categories can apply to those jobs as well.
And there was actually a question that came up in the chat. Are federal government jobs only for American citizens?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, because you have to go through a background check and you have to be a US citizen. And in order to get a security clearance, you need to be a US citizen to work for the federal government. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for that. And so you talked about a little bit about going through USA Jobs, making your profile, loading your resume. Maybe two questions. One, is there a difference between a government resume and that template versus a standard resume template? And about how long is the application interview process from getting your application in to finding out what that hiring decision is?
Yeah, so you do have to create a federal government resume. They have a lot of resources on USA Jobs website. If you go to the help menu at the bottom of the footer of the landing page, homepage, you can go and read more about creating a federal government resume. So you do need to take your private sector resume and translate it into making it a federal government resume. When you actually build your resume on USA Jobs, you can either upload your resume as a document, PDF, Word document, or you can create the resume builder and you can copy and paste your content from Microsoft Word or another file directly into USA Jobs resume builder. And then from there, it will create the resume for you as well. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that if you are a person that's looking to get an IT job, you want to also look for jobs that are specifically saying direct hire. And you want to use those keywords when you're searching for jobs. So you want to search for direct hire IT specialist. Direct hire is a special operating authority that the government has where they can hire people from the public who have special skill sets like cybersecurity or cloud, or all these people have been laid off. We want to bring all these amazing professionals in, and the process could range anywhere from 3 to 6 months. It depends on that government agency's HR department. Every department has their own human resource department, so it's according to how they move.
No, thank you for that. And then one more question, kind of going back to the difference between a federal contractor and a federal employee. And you talked about the difference between the two earlier. Is there a different application process as well?
When you are a federal government contractor, you're going to apply directly to that company's website. And then from there, they're going to hire you, and they're going to give you a security clearance And are you still there?
Yep, I think we're good now.
Okay. All right. So I can't see you. I can just only can see her. Shia Linder.
Yeah, I muted her.
Okay. All right. I think you're back.
Okay.
All right. So when you become a federal government contractor, you are employed by the by that company. So if you want to know the best federal government contracting companies to apply to, you can go to Google and you can put in top federal government contracting companies. Then you can go directly to those companies' pages, careers page, and apply to jobs. So you may hear companies like Lockheed Martin, you may hear companies like Leidos or SAIC or Northrop Grumman or Microsoft or Oracle or any of the big Fortune 500 companies. They all to some degree have a certain amount of government contracts, but you're going to apply for those jobs on the technology companies' websites. Then what they're going to do is they're going to sponsor your security clearance. And then from there, they're going to assign you what federal government department you're going to report to work at. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, no, that
And,
does make sense.
and you can take a regular private sector resume. You don't need a federal government resume to apply to a federal government contracting company because you're applying to the company, not the government.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. No, thanks for calling that out. So a few more questions. I want to open it up because the chat is jumping right now with different questions from people. So we definitely want to circle back and make sure that everyone's questions get asked. I want to, when we talk about federal government jobs, I just feel like there's a lot of stigmas and stereotypes and misconceptions out there. So are there any common myths about federal government jobs and especially IT jobs that you would like to speak to or debunk today?
For sure. It's a lot of myths. So I don't want to be here all day. So I'm gonna just kind of break down some of the most popular ones. Some people think the federal government doesn't work on cool and sexy work. That's a myth. Some of the technologies and some of the systems, yes, do they need to be modernized? Yeah, probably so. That's why we're looking for good IT talent. That's why we're looking for federal government contractors, and we're looking for actual good IT federal government employees to bring in that knowledge, right? So we are constantly moving to the cloud. We're constantly using, we're using AWS, we're using Azure, we're using ServiceNow, Salesforce, we're using low-code platforms, we're moving to AI. So we're incorporating a lot of cybersecurity technologies. So yes, we are definitely, not completely behind the curve, that's one myth. And another myth I wanted to, people think that, the pay is low. The pay is pretty good, for the work-life balance that we receive, for the benefits that we receive. The pay is pretty good. All of my friends make six figures in tech. I've been making six figures in tech since I was 27 years old, and I'm not 27 right now. So I think it's important to know that if you want to go the federal government contracting route, I mean, you probably could make a little bit more money for sure. But contracts in, and then sometimes you have to find another job. And then another myth is that people think that a government shutdown means that you don't get paid. You see on the news, oh, the government's going to shut down. When the government shuts down, as soon as they reopen back up, say they shut down for 2 pay periods and you missed out on getting 2 checks. As soon as the government opens back up, they give you that retroactive or back pay immediately. So it's a difference between the government being shut down and you being laid off. They're not equally the same. So I think that's a misconception too, that people think when the government shuts down that people are losing their jobs or people are not getting paid. No, it just means that we're waiting for politicians to make a decision. And once they make a decision, we're open back up.
I think those are some good ones. I wanted to ask about the government shutdown piece. It made me nervous. Like, yeah, man. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, because the word shutdown seems like it's over, right? You know, it seems harsh. I think it should be, you know, it's temporary closure.
No, thanks for speaking to that. Because I know that's something that's definitely on my mind, a lot of people's minds. Like, I'm working and no government shut down for a month. I'm just not getting paid for a month. What do I do? But that's part of the game, I think. So I'm glad you're able to speak to that. I'm gonna clear up some of
I
those
mean, there's
things.
so many myths, man, but I mean, I think overall, like, if you're looking for stability, you're looking for a good work-life balance, you're looking for continuous education, you can pretty much, you know, fund your education, fund your training on the government's dime. The government funds careers like mine and people's lifestyle because of the amount of funding, the millions and billions of dollars that they put into IT services, right? It's like this is an amazing opportunity for somebody to, you know, get an amazing career.
No, thank you for that. Kind of going along those lines, when you're applying for different roles, different companies, a lot of times there's kind of unwritten rules and insider knowledge, as I like to call it, that can help you maybe stand out from the pack. So, what are some of those unwritten rules or special things that you should probably make sure you do that may not be in a textbook somewhere, if you're considering applying for these roles?
Here's some good, amazing insider quick tips that I've shared online and I will continue to share. When you are looking at job announcements on usajobs.gov, and this is for federal government jobs, the job posting will tell you how many vacancies are available. So I always tell people the government will use these types of phrases: few vacancies, many vacancies, or they may say 10 vacancies. Prioritize applying to those jobs first. Then you may run across a job posting that has one vacancy. You're competing against hundreds of other people that applied. So won't I just put my name in the hat with the many and few vacancies, because I technically don't know how many jobs they're filling, but I know that they're going to fulfill more than one job. So I would bet my chances on putting my name in the hat with a job posting that has 20 openings. That means I'm only competing against maybe 19 other people in a pack of maybe of hundreds of applications, right? The second thing is that you have to fully read the job description and you have to make sure that you attach the required documents. If it says you need a transcript, attach your transcript. If it says you need to attach a cover letter, attach a cover letter. You can easily be disqualified if you don't put the required documentation, you know, attach it to your application. Another thing is that you want to make sure that you are looking again at those direct hire jobs, because that particular department or agency can hire quickly. They can say, man, like, this resume is amazing. Let's go ahead and bring them in for an interview. So those direct hire jobs are exactly what it says. I am directly looking to fulfill a lot of cybersecurity roles, and I'm looking for someone that has cybersecurity experience. Another thing is, if you're trying to break in and you're a college graduate, look at some of the internships through the Pathways program. You can start looking on USA Jobs for some of the internship programs. They have internship programs that happen in the summer. They have the Presidential Fellows program for people that who are finishing their master's degree. Those are easy entryways in, because you know you don't have a lot of professional experience, but you have education, you have a bachelor's degree or you have a master's degree that you're working towards, and you can. That's how I got my job, because I was an intern all year round, you know, through the internship program. And those years of being in college, they gave me that government service. So those 4 years counted towards my government service. So internships are super important as well.
Thank you. I think all of this is good stuff. And just to kind of put a head on all this before we open up the floor to everyone with questions and get some of the questions in the chat. No, how can people engage with you after this conversation and what you're doing through career rehab to help people applying for these roles and other types of roles in general? How can people engage with you? What resources do you recommend, and how do they connect with career rehab going forward?
For sure. I mean, you definitely can continue to interact with me on social media through Twitter and LinkedIn. Those are the platforms that I am on the most. I'm on Instagram as well, but I interact and I share a lot of content on LinkedIn and on Twitter. I host monthly Twitter spaces. We are actually going to be having some federal government Twitter spaces that are happening this coming month in November. We're collaborating with some other organizations. And you can also follow my YouTube channel. I got a lot of videos on getting a federal government job directly on YouTube. If you want to visually see what I was describing today, you can go to my YouTube channel, and you can also, connect with me at kanikatolver.com, which is my personal website, and you can purchase the book Career Rehab on Amazon.com.
Thank you for all of that. So, and I'll try to at least get a LinkedIn link in the chat before we get out of here, or your website or something. But going to get back to, I know we had a few questions here in the chat. I think one came from Tiaja Holman, Tiaja. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I see you had a question around, can you network with people on your job? She says she feels like she's stuck with the same people and doesn't have time to go to networking events. So what do you say for people in those type of situations?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've been in government for a while, and I did cross collaborations with other people at other agencies. So I highly recommend. What I would do is when I was working in the office, because I work remotely now, but I would go to meetups. I would go to tech meetups in the evening and throughout the city of DC. I would go to meetup.com and meetup.com, and I joined meetups that were specific to my career goals. So at the time, I was doing a lot of Drupal development, doing a lot of WordPress development projects. So I would go to all the Drupal and WordPress meetups. Then I started getting into the cloud, and I started going to a lot of the cloud related meetups, like the AWS meetups. I would go to the ServiceNow meetups. Then I would go to a lot of the government conferences, right? Like I tried to make my networking very strategic, because honestly, the people that were in my office, they weren't trying to go where I was trying to go. So like I said, I had to create a whole new, brand new professional network that was in alignment with my career goals. But that required me to get out of my comfort zone, and it required me to do my due diligence, to do research, to join Facebook groups, to join LinkedIn groups, to join groups just like your organization here that you introduced to us today, right? So I think it's important, in order for traction to move in your career, you're gonna have to move with a whole new crowd of people,
Thank you, Ben. I hope that answers your question. Another question came up, and I won't quote it directly, but essentially they said they've applied for hundreds of jobs to USA Jobs and qualified, but nothing has landed. So maybe, do you have any tips or insights around what might be the cause, of what changes they should maybe make?
There's a big possibility that the resume is not in alignment with the job description. The resume has to be in alignment with the job description. You cannot take your existing resume and not put in the government related job description and keywords, meaning that you have to mash up the keywords of what the job description is saying with what you actually did. Because the ATS tracking system that USA Jobs uses is that it is looking for like the keywords from the job description that you applied to. So you have to make sure that you are not applying to a lot of jobs, but making sure that the jobs that you're applying to have some similarities in job descriptions, some similarities in keywords. Because if I apply to randomly 50 different job descriptions that have 50 different set of keywords, I need to make sure that I'm updating my resume before I submit the application. And honestly, applying to a government job is a very frustrating process. It's not easy. I'm not even gonna sit here and say that it's easy peasy. It's just that when the federal government resume isn't done correctly, it's a huge, it can hinder and it can delay the process. For those people that want to consider federal government contracting, I think that that's easier sometimes, because you pretty much can take your existing private sector resume and just update it to that actual federal government contracting companies job descriptions, and get in that way as well. and then later on you can get you can also transition as a federal employee later on if you want to.
Thank you for that. Hopefully that answers your question out there. There was another question around what is the process of getting an employer to sponsor security clearance, or where would you go to locate employers who are willing to sponsor security clearances?
So you need to read the job description, and in the job description on these federal government contracting postings will say the ability to obtain a security clearance, or it will say security clearance sponsorship in the job description. So if you search by security clearance sponsorship or search by willing to obtain a security clearance, willing to obtain, somebody has it in the chat, willing to obtain, what that's saying is that you have to go through the actual background check first and to obtain the security clearance. So they have to first see that there's nothing fraudulent on your background check, because they're not going to sponsor you a security clearance if they see things that are a red flag, like felonies, like you maybe been kicked out of the military, or there's a list of things that could deny you from getting a security clearance, because security clearances cost a lot of money. It's a full investigation process that takes place between the organization and a human being. If Devin could be the investigator, you have to go out and actually do the investigation on my application. You have to go and check me out and see where I lived and verify all of this information and look everything up. So I think it's important that you look for those keywords: security clearance sponsorship, or willing to obtain, and you can put that in Indeed. You can put that in LinkedIn. You can put that in those company websites' career page. And those particular job postings will come up, and those will be the ones that are giving out security clearances.
Okay, there was another question around, for government jobs, is there typically interview stages and technical interviews and coding assessments like in the private sector?
So I've not seen coding assessments done. I actually started off as an application software. Like, I was IT specialist, but I was under the application software category, and I didn't have to do any coding assessments. I just had to, make sure that the programming languages that they were calling out in the job description were associated to my resume. Job interviews usually happen like this. They do panel interviews a lot. So they'll have maybe 3 to 4 people on a panel, and they'll do an interview. I've only interviewed maybe 2 rounds, and the interviews are really focused around what's in the job description. They're actually questions around what's in the job description, but then there are also actually questions that are around your resume. So I would say that they're more technical conversational interviews than actual coding, actual physical coding interviews. And then they're more so focused around like behavioral fit. Are you a good fit for the organization and things like that? But I've never seen them do more than 2 to 3 rounds of interviews in the government.
Okay, there was another question, and I think it kind of goes hand in hand to a follow-up from the question earlier from the person who was saying they've applied for hundreds of jobs, they haven't been able to land anything. So this question says, how can one land an entry-level job with the government or contractors if they are all looking for people with years of experience? And I want to couple this with the follow-up to the question earlier. He said his application was accepted, but he kept losing out to veterans and those who had more points than him, when being stacked
Yeah.
against other
Yeah,
candidates.
veterans will always knock you out the box. They served our country, so we give them honor through the veteran preference, where basically they can get more points on their application than a regular civilian person. So to answer the question about the entry level, you need to be applying for entry level grades. So you can't assume that. I would say if you're trying to get an entry-level job, you should not be applying to six-figure jobs. You should be applying to GS9s, GS11s. That's entry level in tech. So you go to USA Jobs, you will put in IT specialist. On the side, you can filter by grade, and you can put in GS9, GS9 or GS11. And then from there, if you have college experience, college degrees, bachelor's or master's degrees, they have this thing called, they will substitute your professional experience for your education. So say you have a master's or bachelor's degree, you can get, credit for that because you actually went to school. You spent 3 years, 4 years, 6 years in school. So they will bring you in also at a higher grade, maybe an 11 or GS12, right? So that's another way to do it, is that don't go into the mindset that you're going to go in there and make $100,000. That's not entry level. So if you really want to get your foot in the federal government, you may want to start at a mid-level grade.
Okay. And I think that's a good tie into the next question I see here is education required? And if so, what's the minimum?
Some IT jobs don't require a degree. It's all in the job description. So I say read the job description thoroughly. Some do not require a college degree. Some will require certifications. Some will require some level of professional experience. There are people who only have an associate's degree. There are people who I've worked with who've only had professional certifications, but they had years of experience. So if you don't have experience, but you have certifications in education, then apply for those entry-level roles that I described, maybe the GS9 or GS11 level. If you have neither, you got to go back to the drawing board and you have to develop some level of skills. You can come down and come down even lower than a GS9 or 11. But if you don't have any certifications, you don't have any training programs, you haven't done any certifications, you have no college degree, and you have zero tech experience, then you need to go back and get some level of training, professional training, or some professional certifications or a degree if that's needed. But I don't think that every single job requires a college degree. A lot of people I work with do got college degrees, but not every job posting is going to state that you need a college degree.
Okay, we have a question from Darnisha saying, looks like Callie Moore responded a little bit as well, but what can someone in the Next Gen program do to position themselves and landing their first job in the ServiceNow government space if we have no job experience? Probably ties in a little bit what you were just saying.
Yeah, so for the Next Gen folks, I would highly recommend people focusing on finding federal government contractor companies who are ServiceNow partners. Meaning go to the ServiceNow website and go to the partners page, and then a list of companies that could be associated with federal government contracting work. Because a lot of my ServiceNow developers that work with me or people that I've worked with in the ServiceNow ecosystem, they're not federal government employees, because that is a skill set that we actually outsource or contract out, right? There are a few people on my team, that are federal government ServiceNow developers, but it's a very small pool of people. But a lot of the people that I have seen that are working in the ServiceNow ecosystem, they are working with ServiceNow federal government contracting companies. So go to Google and find who are the top ServiceNow federal government contracting companies. This week, I posted a couple of jobs. Booz Allen Hamilton, ICF, CACI, Leidos. Those federal government contracting companies, they're looking for ServiceNow developers, ServiceNow administrators, and ServiceNow consultants who would do like business analyst work or implementation specialist work. So I would highly recommend that you do your research on finding those ServiceNow partners. Go to their career page, upload your resume and search for the entry level roles and apply to those.
Okay. Someone asked, what are some entry level government contract roles? You probably spoken that a little bit, but anything you want to add there?
Nope. Nope. I don't have anything else to add there.
Okay. We had a question, as an older IT worker, what are some ideas to improve the chances of getting hired?
I would highly recommend that you decide what actual lane within tech that you want to go down and identify what knowledge gaps do you have, right? Because if you're an older IT professional, then there probably is some room for improvement. So keeping up with understanding what are the most cutting edge technologies that the government is working on now. We're working on the cloud. We're working on leveraging low code platforms like Salesforce and ServiceNow. We're working with cybersecurity technologies, making sure that you have the CompTIA Security Plus. Anybody that wants to get into cybersecurity and work for the federal government, getting the CompTIA Security Plus certification is a great entryway in, because a lot of these organizations have classified information systems and data, and the CompTIA Security Plus is a requirement to have. So I would highly recommend you first read the job descriptions, identify what path within federal government tech do you want to go down, and say, what do I don't know? What do I need to work on? What skill sets do I need to level up on? Because you definitely are competing with the new generation of technology professionals who may have already had exposure through training programs, boot camps, and through college.
All right. We had another question, um, basically around, are there ways to find roles that will pay to complete a cybersecurity PhD? Now I'll even broaden that to say, is there a way to find roles um, that will pay to complete PhDs or education in general?
I mean, when you get into the federal government, if they have the training budget, I have seen people actually get their master's degrees and PhDs paid for. Um, They actually also have a student loan repayment program. Some agencies have a program where, say, you are a graduate and you have student loan debt, you may agree to work for that federal government agency for 3, 4 years or whatever, and they may pay up to $10,000 per year towards your student loans. But of course, you have to stay with the organization for a period of time. I don't know any specific programs that's focused on PhDs specifically, but there's not a lot of people in the government that walk around with PhDs either, right? Unless they want to be senior executives, or unless they want to be, in the C-suite level roles, they may need a PhD. But PhD is not necessarily needed to work for the federal government. A master's degree isn't completely necessarily needed. So if you want to get a PhD, knock yourself out, but it's not a requirement to work in the federal government space. It would just be more student loan debt.
Yeah, I saw someone asking about, is it helpful to use the resume builder on USA Jobs, which you spoke to earlier in the call. But anything else you want to
Yeah,
add?
I highly recommend that you try both. I personally like to use the resume builder because I feel like, dang, if I copy and paste my actual physical text from a document into their system, I feel like, oh man, it makes me feel like it's really more secure that it's actually going through their system. But you also have the option to either use the resume builder or to attach your actual document, Word document or PDF. Then the ATS system will scan that document up against the job description. And then from there, if your resume is in alignment with the job description, the keywords in the job description, what's going to happen is that now the HR specialist will get notified that you are qualified. And then from there, they have their own vetting process where they physically look through the applications.
Okay, and I know we're right at time. Someone asked for LinkedIn course certification is helpful to show experience.
LinkedIn courses are not certifications. So let's break this down really quickly. A LinkedIn course is a certificate. A certification is when you sit for an exam and you pass a test. So when people, you can list them under your professional training and education section on your resume. So on my resume, I have an education section that lists out my college degree, my bachelor's. Then I have another section called professional training and certifications. That's where I'm listing related courses with the name of the course and the training vendor, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning. And then I have also certified CompTIA Security Plus, certified Scrum Master. So a certificate is when you get an actual little sheet that says, yes, I completed the course. That's a certificate. An industry certification is when you sit for an exam and you pass a test, and now you can say, AWS gave me this certification for the solution architect exam. So we cannot in this job market, we cannot, they're not weighted the same. A course is just a course. A certification means that you have learned, studied, and applied and passed an exam.
Thanks for clearing that up. We're getting ready to close. I know there was a lot of comments in the chat. We may not have gotten to everything, but there's 3 links I just put in the chat. One is bdpa.org/tech and career talks. So this is where you will be able to find this recording as well as all of our previous BDPA Tech and Career Talks. So if you like this conversation, you like to feel the vibe here, you want to see what else are we talking about on here on these Tech and Career Talks, head to bdpa.org/tech and career talks, and you can see them all. You can also go to YouTube, search National BDPA. This will be on our National BDPA YouTube channel here pretty soon as well. The other 2 links I put in was kanikatolver.com, which is Kanika's website. So pretty much everything you want to know is out there. And then I also included her LinkedIn link. So linkedin.com/Kanika Tolver, something like that. It's going to get you to Kanika, and you connect on LinkedIn and continue the conversation that way. Kanika, any last thoughts, resources, anything you want to share with us before we close?
Oh no, for sure. I want to first thank you for bringing me here to share this information today. I truly appreciate being a part of this afternoon. I just want to give people some level of encouragement that applying to any tech job, honestly, not just federal government. It's a discouraging time right now, and I just want people to be encouraged, and I want people to understand that they can do this, but it's going to require a strategic approach. Focus on getting your resume in alignment with where you're trying to go. Please do not apply to jobs blindly to 600 jobs and you haven't gotten your resume together. So make sure that you slow down and you read job descriptions and you build some level of alignment. Without alignment, there's no true assignment for the recruiter or the HR person to find that you are qualified. So I just want to encourage people to focus on mindset over movement. Mindset over movement. Because if your mindset isn't locked in to understanding the process, it's going to be very difficult to make movement. So have a great day.
And that's that. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed. We'll see you soon.
All
Have a
right.
good one.